When it comes to your lead generation, you probably fall into one or two camps. Number one, you feel as though you're putting in so much time, so much effort, and so much energy into your marketing and into your messaging, and you feel as though it's falling on deaf ears. You feel as though nobody's listening, nobody's consuming, nobody's engaging, nobody's raising their hand, and you're starting to question, is it me? Is there something that I'm currently doing wrong? Where's my next lead gonna come from? And that leads to a great amount of uncertainty and also frustration, because we all love progress and we wanna actually feel seen. Or number two, the opposite of that, you're now generating so many leads into your world. The problem, they're poor quality, they're misaligned, they're shopping on price, and you're then having to push and convince people into your world that actually aren't perfect fit. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can build an evergreen lead generation system so you can attract perfect fit clients into your world every single day and every single week. Let's go. Before I show you our evergreen lead generation system that helps us attract perfect fit clients into our day, every week, and every month, I'm going to walk and talk you through the core four. We need to make sure that we've got these nailed down. Otherwise, business is going to feel heavy, hard, and like an uphill battle. So we need to make sure that these are going to be nailed. Quick point. This is going to evolve, this is going to grow, and this will constantly be in beta mode. So don't think I need to nail it once, because nothing is permanent within business. We just need to make sure that we've got enough clarity for us to be able to get some momentum, and then we can just iterate and change. I love the thought process of failing forward fast. So the first thing we need to be able to nail is the who. The who is the one person that you're now speaking to. A lot of people will talk about niche. For me, I talk about find your people. I think niching down is too vague. Finding your people is being able to communicate and convey in a way where your audience are currently sat listening, watching, or reading, and they go, wow, they get me. When somebody thinks you get me in their head when they're watching your stuff, that's the goal that we're now looking for. And our job is to be able to communicate and convey our message in a way that helps them feel seen, makes them feel heard, makes them feel understood, makes them feel connected, makes them feel safe. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is elicit a feeling. That's going to be the easiest way for you to be able to whisper in somebody's ear instead of thinking that you need a megaphone and you need to shout to as many people as humanly possible. Number two, once we've nailed that, we need to know how. And the easiest way for me to be able to explain this is, what's your big idea? What's the old way versus the new way? Your best clients don't buy into fancy promises. Your best clients don't buy into fancy outcomes because they've seen it all before. Your best prospects are going to be buying into you, your values, your energy, what you stand for, what you stand against, what you're willing to compromise, not what you're willing to compromise, and your big ideas and how you get them from A to B. So we need to make sure that you've got absolute clarity around the how, which is really kind of going to craft your offer. It's going to craft and help you unpack your IP, and it's going to help you have a system and a process that you can now put in place that's going to make results predictable, easy, and not only that, it's going to give you a system that's going to be the backbone of absolutely everything that you do. Number three, we need to make sure we know the what, your next move. This is usually the first thing that everybody wants to know. But we can't do the what until we know the how, and we can't do the how until we know the who. And the easier and the clearer these two are, the easier this then becomes. And this is exactly what we're going to now go through. And then finally, we've got you. And I break this down into three things. We've got your energy. We've got to make sure that it's going to be aligned or it complements. And finally, we've got to operate from this place of it being fun. Your business ambition will always be limited to the amount of energy that you have to give to it. Number two, we need to make sure you're building a business that complements you. Otherwise, you're going to be a puppet pretending to be someone that you're not. I've done that for a number of years and it didn't work out very well. And number three, one of the narratives that I love to live within, and I give all of our coaches the same thought process is if it was easy and fun, what would that now look like? Because let's face it, business is challenging, business is hard, and you're spending the majority of your time solving problems. And a lot of the time, it's going to feel like an uphill battle. So we've got to now be able to make sure that it's going to be fun. It's got to be enjoyable, and it's got to be aligned to you, because if not, you're not going to stick at it. You're not going to be able to give it the energy you now want to, and therefore you're not going to have as much longevity. And it's the person who can be consistently good and not occasionally great. They're the ones that I'm most afraid of. So once we've now been able to nail these four, we can then go into the lead generation system, and I'm going to show you exactly what it is that you now need to do every day, every week, and every single month. There's a plane overhead. We literally live next to a skydive center, so you just see people all the time just flying down, screaming and shouting at the top of the voice. you'll probably hear all the time. Your product is your very best marketing. And you'll be like, right, that's great. I need to share and showcase results. I need to get other people to tell other people about their experiences that they've now had with me whilst they've gone on this journey. And I also need to share and showcase what we're up to, what we're doing, the events, experiences, maybe the calls that you're currently on, etc. But I want us to be able to now go another level and another layer deeper. And I want us to be able to think about how can we use our product as our very best marketing with respect to what it actually is that you're now delivering inside the coaching process. And the analogy that I love to use here is like truck and trailer. When I was a kid, I used to go to Lob Fields, which was near my home. And I think it was like under 10s, probably all the way through to under 16s. One of the first drills that we would do was you would run with a ball in a small square with all these other players around you, and you'd have somebody behind you who literally just had to track you and follow you. And the aim of the game was for you to not basically bump into anybody else. Now, I want you to think about your delivery and your marketing in exactly the same way. Your delivery and your coaching is basically the player who's running around with the ball. Your marketing and lead generation is the player behind you who is literally just now following along. So instead of us having to duplicate and create lots of different pieces of work, how can we take that one piece of work and how can we start to unpack that, and how can we unbundle it, and how can we put it into a process that's now going to help you just reflect what you're doing inside to now outside, which means that the problems that you're solving inside your coaching program is going to be, well, the exact problems that your perfect fit clients are also experiencing on the outside. Your product is your best marketing. We need to be able to make sure that we've got clarity on your theme. Your coaching process is so much more than just a check-in delivery system and a WhatsApp message every single week. We want to be able to build a world, and we want to build a space and a place where people feel like they belong, they feel connected, they feel as though they have a strong identity, and it feels sticky for them. So if you're just simply relying upon a check-in system and a message or a call or a Loom video every single week, we need to be able to go one level deeper. Inside the coaching program, to give you an example, one of the guys this week is delivering the Food Freedom Formula. The Food Freedom Formula is just simply his nutrition system that he now uses with his clients to help them drop body fat, get lean, without giving up foods that they love or having to sacrifice dinner with the kids, and etc., etc., etc. So we now want to be able to go, okay, well, what's the old way? The old way is boring, boring food. You're relying upon willpower. You only can stick to it for a certain period of time. It's short term. What's the new way? Well, the new way is obviously going to be the complete opposite of that. Okay? So that's going to basically be his delivery system. That's going to be what it is that he stands for, and that's how he now coaches his clients. So let's say he's now delivering that inside of his coaching program. Well, number one, he can build a little micro teach. Number two, he can actually talk about that inside his community. And number three, when his clients are now dropping body fat, getting lean, or they are out and about and they're like, their friends are asking them how they're doing it, I'm like, well, I'm working with X person and they've got this thing called the Food Freedom Formula, I've just made that up, that I now use, which basically means that I can bank my calories and I can do this, which still actually allows me to eat the ice cream, and it still allows me to do whatever it's now going to be. So there's also a great way where they can actually just now communicate and highlight exactly like your system and your process. So let's say now we have this in place. Now inside your coaching, now inside your marketing, every single week, what do we have? Well, we have, first and foremost, your content. One piece of content is going to be long form. Short form content is great for attention and great for awareness. Long form content is great for conversion. You may not get as many views, and you may not get as many people watching your stuff, but it's going to be a great opportunity for people to now be able to binge you, get to know you, understand and unpack what it actually is that you now do. And in this day and age with AI and information and just all this stuff that's artificial, this is going to be one of the greatest ways for you to now be able to really separate yourself. So we need to make sure there's an element of long form, which is now going to be YouTube, or it's going to be podcasts. So that little micro mini teach that you've now potentially delivered could now be delivered inside here. Perfect example. This is the Evergreen Lead Generation system that I delivered inside our coaching program 2 weeks ago. And this is going to be some elements and a small piece of the pie that I'm now going to be able to show you. So all I'm doing is duplicating exactly what it is that we now do. The second thing we've got is then going to be short form content. We want to optimize for one channel and then we can diversify from there. And within short form, we have themes, or we have topics is probably a better frame. The first post is usually a value post. The second post is usually a story-based post. The third post is then going to be an objection-based post. The fourth post is going to be a proof post. The fifth post is then going to be a life post. And what we can now start to do is we can go, okay, well, actually, how can we now unpack this? Bored of eating the same foods? going into this summer and you're already now thinking about what's going to happen after the holiday when you go back to square one and you feel I'm going to show you exactly how my clients can eat foods that they love without feeling like they're on a diet, so they can now not only get into the shape of their life, but they can now keep results for life, because we're going to teach them the food freedom formula, which helps them navigate social occasions. So you can now deliver the carousel, reel, whatever it now might potentially be, based upon this. You can also then direct them obviously to the long form, the YouTube, or obviously the lead magnets when I'm going to speak through. Story. I'll never forget the day when it all went to shit. I dieted for 16 weeks on the same 7 foods, working towards a bodybuilding competition. And I was absolutely peeled out my brain. I picked up the winning trophy. I got sponsored by Optimum Nutrition, and it was absolutely great. The problem? My digestive system was absolutely ruined, and I was now in a space and a place where I was having to go back to normality. I was eating anything and everything. I then ended up gaining 10 kilos and That's one of the stories that I went through, which is then when I realized that if I was now going to get in shape again, I needed a new way. I needed a new opportunity, which is then when I created the boom. Yep. So then you can talk about a story. You can make it relatable. You can create some resonance for you. Objection. When I pop, I just can't stop. I'm thinking about Pringles. The food freedom formula isn't just about eat whatever you want whenever you want. It's about understanding high palatable foods. It's about understanding what works with you, what works against you. It's about making sure that we're now optimizing for health, and we're now going to be optimizing for satiety and all these other pieces and energy, but also making sure that you've got the 20% where you can now factor in, you can facilitate, and you can add that in. So you're actually now being able to just handle whatever objections people are now going to be experiencing. Proof, meet my client John when John first came to me, etc. And then life. Here's me eating an ice cream. Here's me at the beach with my kids. Here's me training. Here's me just doing the things that I now love. Just showing and sharing and highlighting your values. So we can now create 1 week's worth of content simply based upon this one topic. You can also use things like Opus Pro, or you can use other obviously AI tech-based pieces that will potentially help you unpack this even more so. So it now means that we have one long form, we have the short form themes that are now going out that are related to obviously this. And then what we can do is we can then start to boost these posts for profile visits, which are going to bring, if they're now speaking, that's the set of eyes. If we're now speaking to that one person, they're going to go, that's me, that's right, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I feel like they're speaking to me. You get me. They're then going to land on your page, they're going to read and digest even more of your stuff. They might go to your longer form stuff, and they're going to be able to then start to go into your world and start to go into your ecosystem. And we can start that literally just at £5 per day. So if we now know that's going to be the content piece, outside of that, we've then got, let me do this in another color, we've got your chats. Now, a lot of people are like, well, I'm going to help you grow a business without now sending DMs or without now having to speak to people. Now, I don't know about you, but relationships are the foundation of absolutely everything. If I didn't speak to Leanne when I first met her, and I just basically walked past and completely ignored her, we wouldn't be married right now. And also, if I went up to Leanne and I said, hey, do you want to get married? She'd probably say, who are you? You're a weirdo, you're a creep. Whereas if I went up to Leanne and I said, hey, I'm Joe, what's your name? Can I buy you a drink? There's a greater probability and there's a greater likelihood that I might now get to that next step. This is about long-term relationships. This isn't about spamming. It's not about trying to reach out to a lot of people cold. It's about simply just trying to open a door. You're going to go on a journey. And all we're simply trying to do is connect and interact and engage with people who are interacting, engaging, watching and following our stuff, because a lot of people are nervous, are apprehensive, they don't have confidence. And again, I've reached out to mentors before and coaches before, and I've just sat there with a blank page and I've gone, hey, Joe, I'm stuck. I just haven't known how to communicate. So if there was already a conversation that was open, it's going to be far easier for me to be able to then convey and say, hey, I'm ready. And so what we're trying to do here is just plant seeds, take people on a journey, build genuine connections, build genuine relationships. And all of that is just now going to be taking people through the pipeline. And of course, that's going to be built upon this. And then finally, what we have, let me do this in a different color. We then have offers. So now every single week, we should be sending out at least 3 to 4 offers. These offers can now be built on a couple of things. Number one, we've got literally go and watch my long form content. Number two, if you've now built some type of playbook or lead magnet or some type of little micro training, some type of resource, some type of asset, we can now give that away as a lead magnet. And we can also tie this into the content. Number three, if you're now delivering, let's say, a live call, we did this yesterday. Hey, tomorrow, Me and a few of the coaches are going to be getting together. We're going to be running a Zoom call and we're going to be going through bum. Would you like to join us? Gives them the opportunity to come into your world, have that experience, be inside the container, be inside the room, which is absolutely great. And then number 4, we can obviously give out and actually directly communicate a direct offer where we can just get a sticker. We can get somebody to then put up the hand. That's a hand, terrible drawing. And we can say, hey, if you feel as though that you're currently eating the same boring foods, you're struggling to stick to it, you know that you really want to make a change and you want to drop body fat, you want to finish fat loss forever and you want to be able to get into the shape of your life, but you don't want to, and you've been interested in finding out how we can help you using our Food Freedom Formula, tap the sticker and I'll send you over the details in terms of how we now work. So there's now going to be 4 simple, easy ways that we can now, within this, now communicate everything that we're now currently delivering. And then final piece that you've got from this as well, before I go into the monthly and then the quarterly piece when it comes to your marketing and lead generation, is going to be, you can now repurpose a lot of what you've now created in here and also in here into an email. You can now take that can become a newsletter. You can use the right prompts with GBT. You can take the transcript from this and you can then obviously ask it to populate a newsletter. You can also ask it to populate some of the content for you as well. And again, it's now not you cheating, it's now simply you just taking the information and the communication and everything you now stand for, you now believe in, and it's just now allowing you to speed up that process. So we can now just start to build a world where you're delivering one theme inside of your program. It's going to have an element of delivery, and then externally we can then have that truck and trailer analogy. And so every single week we've got 3 to 4 offers going out. We've got the chats, we've got the boosting posts, which is giving people the opportunity to come into your world even more so. We've got one piece of long form that's aligned to this, and then we've also got the short form that you're now going to be delivering. And then we can repeat that week upon week upon week upon week upon week, depending upon obviously what it is that you're now delivering. So if we know that's going to be the daily and the weekly cadence, then if we look at monthly, an end of month sprint, we now know that the last week of every month is now going to be a small 3 to 7 day campaign. And I think about this like pick and mix, where we can have 6 different types of offer. So this now might potentially be a case study. This now might potentially be an opportunity for somebody to maybe join your program for the first 30 days. This now might be an opportunity for somebody now to come to an event or a live workshop or something that you're now currently delivering. This now might be some guarantee that you're now putting in place. This could actually just be your genuine offer. Or this could be something that might potentially be driving people towards, I don't know, maybe like a one-to-one VIP day with you or something along those lines. And then what we can do is at the end of every single month, we just now know that we run a bit more of a direct campaign that's just going to be more front-facing, and it's going to give the people the opportunity who have been coming into your world, watching, seeing, experiencing, and understanding what it is that you now do, an opportunity to be able to put the hand in the air. And we're just going to place a little bit more of intentionality behind it. So you now know that every week we're now putting out offers. At the end of the month, we're now going to be creating another offer and another opportunity for people. And again, if you have this now in your email, if you obviously have an email list, we can do exactly the same thing, etc. And then finally, what we have is every single quarter, or every 90 days, what we then do is we're then just going to run a campaign or a launch around time of the year. And the four times a year that we'll typically look at will be Jan, which is going to be the new year, new me. We're then going to have kind of like the March, April time, which is going to be the summer. We have the September, which is the back to school, October, November, which again is going to be more of like a winter opportunity. So then what we now know is that every single quarter we can now plan out a bigger campaign, and we now know that it can be targeted around, well, what are the biggest problems, what are the biggest challenges, what are the wants and what are the aspirations of your perfect fit client at this time of year. So it's going to be far more targeted, far more aligned, and incredibly direct. That can be anywhere from a 7 to a 14-day launch offer intake. So we then have the micro, we have the meso, and then we also have the macro. And this is just a framework that you can now apply, you can now use, and it just gives you the opportunity to have at least a bit of a process that you can now start to use. And there's so many more levels and layers that we can now go into, but this is a great place to start. And if you nail this, this isn't about more, it's about better. And if we're not generating inbound leads into our inbox every single week, it means that there's something off and there's going to be something that's missing with our message and our marketing at this present moment in time. We need to strengthen, we need to optimize that before we then start adding even more layers. It can be so easy to make your business more complex than it needs to be. Ads, fancy funnels, complex systems, and all these different moving parts. Now, don't get me wrong. Do they have their place? 100%. But we need to make sure that the foundations are right first. We need to find your voice, strengthen your message, and we then need to sharpen your systems. Once we have that, the growth that you're able to see is going to be monumental. And then we can start to tinker. We can then start to iterate, and we can then start to tweak, and we can start to add different layers and different levels of complexity off the back of that. If you need some help getting super clear around how you can find your voice, how you can strengthen your message, and how you can create content that's going to pull inbound leads into your inbox every single week, drop me a message with the word leads on Instagram, and I'll send you over a playbook and a small little training that's going to help you do exactly that. Until next time, speak to you soon.